Hi there, I'm Vincent Bos, and I'm a life coach, relationship coach, and breakup coach. You can change the language of this podcast in the YouTube video settings. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing secret tricks to unlock dumper's remorse. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Subscribe to my weekly support emails. The link is in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast, and today we are discussing secret tricks to unlock dumper's remorse. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, it can feel impossible that your ex will ever change their mind. Is there anything that you could do to alter this? In today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 secret tricks to unlock your dumper's remorse. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is social echoes. Now let me know in the comments if you feel that your ex will ever feel remorse. Let me know in the comments and let's see what the community thinks. And point number 1 is social echoes. And this is something that you, as a dumpee, can start right now. But it also involves your friends and family. And the element that involves you yourself is to implement a radio silence mentality. Now, radio silence is not just no contact. And incidentally, whilst I mention no contact, it's important for me to say that my version of a no contact rule suggests that you as a dumpee should never contact your ex-dumper again unless they contact you first. But if they do contact you, you should respond. Now, there are always going to be exceptions to the rule, but that's a generalized concept, and that does not change from the suggestion that I'm making right now. Yes, I'm suggesting that as a new potential strategy, you go into a radio silence, but that is not affecting my version of a no contact rule. The radio silence aspect in this regard is that you do not post anything on social media. So in this suggestion I'm making here in point number 1, your part of the bargain as a dumpee is you stop posting on social media. However, your friends and family, well, they pick up the baton, so to speak, and they will be posting social media posts about you. Now, it has to be done in a smart way. You could make this look incredibly obvious, which of course is not going to help you. So we need to be clever about this, and the first step of that is making sure that the friends you might involve in this situation are not connected to your dumper. If these are mutual friends, it is not going to work. And by the way, if you're listening to this point number 1 and thinking, well, all of my friends are connected to my ex, or something where you just don't believe this is going to fit for you, please keep listening through, because points 2 and 3 are very different, and they're just as powerful in their own unique way. But going back to point number 1 on the social echoes, you as a dumpee are going radio silent. You're not posting on your social media. However, you might actually appear in the social media of your friends and family. So for instance, your friends and family might post a story where you are actually part of that. Maybe you are out and about somewhere and you appear in a short video which they have filmed and put onto their account. Or maybe it's a photo. Whatever it is, this is where you can be drip-feeded into your ex-dumper's mind, but not via your own account. Now, you might be thinking, now wait, you've just said earlier on, it can't be mutual friends. So how on earth will my ex-dumper see something that one of my friends has posted that they are not connected to? Well, this is where we almost just have to let the universe play itself out. Because although we can't necessarily put our finger on the how and the why, what I can say is almost every time that I've spoken with a dumper, they have told me they have found out information about their dumpee which has not come from the dumpee themselves. So whether it is your ex-dumper going the extra mile to try to understand what you're up to? Maybe it will be. Perhaps you've been tagged rather than it being on your own account, and just the fact that you've been tagged means your ex will see it more easily. Whatever it may be, I've seen great success of a dumpee going radio silent, which causes wonder and intrigue. What is my ex doing now? Yes, I ended a relationship, but that doesn't mean I'm not interested in what they're doing. Most dumpers are going to be very curious about what you're doing with your life. Maybe not instantaneously, but certainly as the months tick by. And if they go onto your socials and they don't see that you've posted anything, but then all of a sudden they realize that other people are posting things involving you, including you, about you. Maybe you've been tagged, that's how they find it. Maybe they are not actively friends with these necessary people that you have got to post this stuff, but they do know of them. So they're not actually friends with them. They're not going to be in cahoots with them, but they know who to look for. So just because you haven't posted anything, and just because they're not actually connected on the social media with this other person, if they know you spend a lot of time with that person, they will probably check it out on spec, and guess what? There you are. And the fact that you are living your life in a way which is not through your profile directly causes something very interesting. Because by the fact that you are on other people's platforms, it shows via social proofing that you are a popular person. And this is where the real trick comes in. Because this is your friends and family. Your ex-dumper would logically know that you spend time with these people. It's not as if this is a surprise. However, it has a powerful impact on their mindset. So irrespective if they expect you to spend time with these people, the fact that they see you on their profiles, on their platforms, on their accounts, it plays with their mindset just that bit using the pull of social proofing, and it can definitely develop dumpers' remorse. But if they're not going through the best time, and listen, every dumper will hit a stage where they question if they've made the right decision. If they are then having the social proofing string pulled in their mind about you, that can just sometimes tip the balance where they feel remorse. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like and hype this video. If you like my content, subscribe to the channel to keep updated. And point number 2 is original plus. So today we're speaking about secret tricks to unlock dumpers' remorse. And point number 2, I am calling original plus. Now this involves you thinking of the things that you used to do at the time of when you and your ex-dumper first met. Now maybe that was only a year ago and you can remember very, very easily, or perhaps it was 20 years ago and it might take a little bit of thought. Maybe you think you do almost the same things now that you did then, but if you were to think very clearly, I'm almost convinced that all of you would have changed in some regard. Getting into a serious relationship takes effort and it also takes time. And when we are spending a lot of time with someone else, inevitably we have to give something up. Now maybe this was a really important hobby or interest of yours. Maybe it wasn't something that you necessarily thought was a big deal. But now you look back and think, actually, I enjoyed doing whatever that was. Well, my suggestion in point number 2, or at least part of it, is that you almost need to go back to those things that you used to do. But then comes the plus. Because remember, point number 2 is called original plus. So the first element of this is to go back doing the things that you used to do. Now, it goes without saying, I'm talking about positive things, okay? If you used to do bad, negative things, I do not suggest you go back to doing those things that you may have done. But anything that was a hobby or an interest, those types of things, they are the elements about you that when your ex first met you and got to know you, that's what they thought. That's who you were. That's who you are. So we almost want to try and re-attract our ex by being the person that they remembered when you first got together. But then comes the plus. And the plus is we need to enhance that version of you. Because we can't stand still. If, for instance, you did the exact same hobbies and interests now that you did back then, that isn't going to be enough, because as a human being, we should always be growing. We should always be moving on an upward trajectory, hopefully improving for the better and becoming a version 2.0 of ourselves. So how that represents within this concept is, yes, go back to a hobby or interest that you used to do, but instead of just sticking at it exactly the same way you did previously, think about how you could enhance it. Now that, of course, could be an almost infinite amount of possibilities. Maybe it is doing it in a different location, which is better in some regard. Maybe you're doing it at a higher level. Again, I don't know, for instance, what it is that you may be thinking or doing, but you, I'm sure, can. Think about what you used to do and now enhance it. Because what this would show is the trajectory that you would have been on, the growth, the evolution, the fact that things and us and the world is different now to how it was back then. You just need to be enhancing things. It's not just about going back and doing the exact same thing you used to do. Yes, you're ex-pal in love with that person, but you and them and the world is not the same now. So yes, tap into that nostalgia, but now inflate and improve it. And this is something we can speak about on my audio coaching service if you want some support to try and figure out exactly how that could work out for you. But if you were to do this, it can increase dumpers' remorse by them thinking, actually, I really loved that person, and now I'm finding out that they're actually doing the things that I used to fall in love with them doing. That's the person I remember. That nostalgia, it all pulls on them. But then they're seeing new things. The fact that it has been enhanced, improved, something which is potentially more challenging. That is where it can really pull in their mindset. Now you might think, well, how are they going to find out about this? Well, first of all, we have the whole universe concept of somehow, often, they will just somehow basically find out. Maybe they hear it on the grapevine. Maybe somebody tells somebody else, and they hear it. But alternatively, you could actually post on your socials. If you don't like the idea of point number 1 and you don't want to go radio silent, you can do the opposite and you can post. But make sure you are posting great things, positive things, things showcasing self-improvement, but also in this regard, going back to who you were, but now enhancing it. Of course, it could actually tie in nicely with point number 1 and you don't post anything, but you are shown within your friends or family's posts, maybe their stories, for instance, doing this exact concept. So it could go hand in hand, or it could be totally opposite. But either way, if you do what you used to do, and you do it to a better level, if you do it in a different, improved way, that can really create that dumper's remorse. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. This is the best and diamond level of support that I can provide. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is the trip. Now, if you feel that this podcast could help others, please share it in breakup communities, groups, and servers. Let's help as many people as possible. And point number 3 is the trip. Now, the trip is something where you will definitely be using your social media. Yes, other people could as well on your behalf, as we've already spoke about in today's podcast, but you'll definitely be using this because you need to be promoting that you are excited to be going on a trip. Now, the key here is that you don't mention for how long you're going. Now, the reality is you might only be going for a week, Okay, you might only be going for a few days, but you need to be promoting this in a way where nobody actually quite really knows. Are you going there for 6 months? Are you potentially moving somewhere? You can make it so it is a bit vague. Now, I'm never going to suggest that you lie. This isn't about lying, but what this is about is just allowing anybody who is seeing your socials, anybody who is hearing things from one person to the next, that you might be going somewhere, and they, i.e. your ex-dumper, will have a possible feeling that you might be going for good. And this is where, again, maybe we could speak about it through audio coaching, or you could think it through in your own regard. If you do this the right way, it can be incredibly impactful because it pulls on somebody, i.e. your dumper's mindset of what they might lose forever. Yes, they've ended your relationship, but in their mind, you're going to stay exactly where you are, doing exactly what you've been doing. They're going to live their life. And if they ever want to come back, you're still there. Now, if they actually believe, just for a moment, that you might be going somewhere, possibly forever, that can really pull on remorse. And you might even get a message from them querying how long you're going for. Now, at that stage, I wouldn't suggest you lie. Just say the actual truth. And by the way, we've kind of just dusted over this part, but you do need to be going somewhere. Like I said, don't lie. You need to be going on a trip. I would suggest it needs to be at least a week. If you could go for longer, even better. A month would be fantastic. But it doesn't have to be that elaborate. As long as you are going somewhere and you're talking about it in a way where you're excited, you're positive, anybody, including your ex, that sees and reads about this, is going to see you as someone who is more attractive, because attractiveness goes and connects with positivity. If you're typing negative things about your life, that's not attractive. If you type positive, exciting, new, fresh ideas, that is very, very attractive. So if you just start talking about a trip which is coming up, maybe you do a big long build-up. I'm going to such and such a place in 3 months' time. And you talk about it and you show the things that you bought for your trip and whatever it might connect with. Of course, it could be anywhere, it could be doing anything. But if you are leading it in a way where it's a bit vague about whether or not you're actually going there for good, or maybe even it's not just about going there for good, but there's a possibility that you might be going there for 6 months to a year. People travel. If you leave it very vague, then that can pull on dumper's remorse and hopefully get your ex to message you.